Crime Daily. I am your host, Rebecca, aka Crafting Journey. This is a show where I recap live trials while I craft. What you see in front of you? Cross stitch from the weekend. Yes, I was working on White Santa by Luca S. I purchased this from 123stitch.com. It's a stitch along that a bunch of us are doing. We got together over the weekend on Zoom and stitched away. I said it was a weekend, 24 hours of cross stitch weekend. Apparently I was wrong. That's only every 3 months, but I was still counting. So I got about 17 hours in, which broke my previous record. And you're gonna laugh. Yes, this is what I got done. Yes, 17 hours. Cross stitch takes time, but I was really, really enjoying it. So this is the start of this wreath that you see up here in the corner, this wreath. So this is what I have done, that part. But I really like this kit. It's really, really nice. The thread is nice. The pattern is easy to read. Here's the pattern. And I just mark it off as I go. This is page 1 of 6, I think. I think it's 6 pages. Oh, 8 pages. Sorry, 8 pages. Okay, I'm wrong. So I don't know that I can do this while I talk to you. Probably not, because we got a lot of detail to go through today. As I indicated yesterday in my live, the state has rested their case in the Alex Murdaugh trial. But before they rested, they put on a SLED agent who had created a timeline based on all of the information, cell phones from everybody, the OnStar data, the info, what do they call that? The infotainment center data. Yeah. Anyway, okay. All right. So let's start from the beginning. So Friday, the day started out with the cross-examination of the crime scene reconstruction expert, who was very, very good. Like, he got down and demonstrated the angle of the gunshots. But through this witness, the defense wanted, here's what the jury got to hear. The defense was very effective in getting the jury to know that there was a gunshot wound to the head. You know, he didn't miss. He did suffer a gunshot wound to the head. I think it just grazed him, because head wounds just bleed like crazy. And I have seen pictures of him as he gets to the hospital or in the ambulance. I don't know when these pictures were taken, but it's pretty bloody, pretty gory. But, you know, head wounds do bleed a lot. So we know that. So he suffered a skull fracture and a brain bleed. Had to have been minor, because he was not in the hospital for very long. Dick Harpootlian got the agent to agree that, yes, eventually when they finally caught up with Alex in the detox center, he did confess that he had stolen money, he had lied, and that this was not what it appeared to be. So he was really trying to paint the picture that Alex was being very cooperative, you know. So the other fact that he got out was that Alex is facing life without the possibility of parole for the 90+ other financial crimes that he's facing. So now the jury knows all this. He's had a head wound of his own and he said, as a result of this, wasn't he charged with insurance fraud, conspiracy, and filing a false police report? Yes, he was. So now the jury knows all the other stuff that's going on with Alex. Crazy. So then we have the timeline guy comes on. Fascinating. Now it's kind of lengthy, so just bear with me. So we start at 12:06 p.m. That's the time that Alex leaves for work on the morning of June 7th. At 12:24, he arrives at his law firm, PMPED. At 6:24, he leaves work. At 6:04, before he leaves his office, Paul is calling friends of his, a guy named Will. Will calls him back, and they talk for a couple of minutes. At 6:08, Paul is calling Alex, which the phone connects, but it's only like a 1-second call. So I'm not sure what that means, but that was part of the data that Alex had tried to delete from his phone. At 6:09, Paul calls Maggie, and that call goes, it's answered, but it's only 2 seconds. Then 30 seconds later, Maggie texts Paul and says, "Are you okay? I'm getting a foot massage. Then I'll be headed home." Then 10 seconds later, Paul texts her and says, "Yeah." And then she texts him back, "Love you," and Blanca cooked dinner. At 6:20, Maggie gets a phone call. Now, keep in mind, Alex is still at work when all these phone calls are going on. At 6:20, Maggie gets a call from her sister, but she doesn't take the call. Instead, she texts her sister back saying, "I'm getting a foot massage. I'll call you when I'm on the way home." So at 6:23, Paul texts Maggie, "What did she cook? What did she make?" And so she texts him back and says, "Country fried steak and macaroni and cheese. Yum!" Except that's not what she made. She made cube steak, rice, and green beans. Maybe they didn't have any macaroni and cheese. Maybe they should feel like making homemade macaroni and cheese. Yum. Either way, both sound delicious. Okay, 6:24. Now we know Alex is leaving the law firm. His phone connects to his vehicle and he leaves the firm. At the same time, Paul is calling his friend Nolan. At 6:25, Alex gets a call from Jay Parker. Now, I don't know if that's the Parker from his law firm, PMPED, probably, I would assume. The Parker, the first name is Parker, PMPED, or one of the names is Parker, I don't know. So then at 6:27, Paul texts Maggie. He's texting one of his friends. Then at 6:33, he's texting another friend. At 6:40, Paul calls Alex, and then they talk for 2 minutes and 29 seconds. Now, this is the point in time where Alex is in his vehicle driving to Moselle, that he has this conversation with Paul. At 6:42, we know Alex arrives at Moselle. At 6:43, Alex calls Maggie, and they have a phone conversation for 1 minute and 44 seconds. At 6:52, Alex calls Terry Brandstetter, which is his father-in-law, Maggie's father, and they talk for 7 minutes. At 6:53, Paul calls John Marvin, his brother, and they talk for 1 minute and 42 seconds. Now, I'm assuming by this time Alex is in the house at Moselle. At 7 p.m., Paul texts C.B. Rowe about the sunflowers. At 7:02, Maggie calls Alex, and it's a 2-second phone call. 7:03 to 7:11, Paul takes 165 steps, and his phone pings him at the main house. So it sounds like Paul and Alex are now home. At 7:04, Maggie's phone connects to her car, so now she's going to be on her way home. So 7:05, Maggie calls her sister. At 7:05, Alex, at the same time, Alex texts Maggie. Paul says, "You're getting a petty, call when you're done." Also at 7:05, Maggie tries to call Paul, and they talk for a minute. At 7:09, Maggie makes a call to someone named Courtney. It's also that's only a 3-second call. Then at the same time, she calls her mom, and they talk for 8 minutes and 17 seconds. Then from 7:14 to 7:22, Paul takes 208 steps. And from 7:15 to 7:21, Alex takes 200 steps. So it appears like at this point they're together. So I'm assuming they arrive home, both of them around 7, and then they get into their little four-wheeler, whatever it is, and they're driving around the property. So this appears to be that time frame there. At 7:18, Maggie calls her sister Barbara. That's a 2-second call. At 7:18, Alex texts CB Rowe, call me please. 7:21, Maggie says, Maggie uses the app Find My iPhone. I guess she's trying to figure out where Paul and Alec are. I don't know. 7:25 to 7:34, Paul takes 139 steps. During that same time frame, Alex takes 47 steps. So it seems like they're still together. 7:31, Maggie calls her sister and they talk for 7 minutes and 39 seconds. At 7:35 to 7:41, Paul takes 171 steps. At 7:37, he gets a Snapchat video from a friend, and then he texts a different friend. At 7:39 is when the Snapchat video is created, the one where we see Alex playing with the tree, and he's got the khaki long khaki pants on, not shorts, long pants, and he's wearing a long sleeve shirt. Yeah. So, not the clothes that he had on the night of the, several hours later, or really only a couple hours later, 3 hours later, he's got on shorts and a t-shirt. So, from 7:41 to 7:48, Alex and Paul, Alex takes 29 steps, Paul takes 89 steps, and they're at the kennel. That's where the phones are pinging. At 7:50, Maggie calls Barbara. That's an 8-second call. At this point, her phone is pinging in Walterboro, so she's on her way home. She was in Charleston. And at 7:52, Paul's battery is down to 7%. At 7:55 to 8:05, Paul takes 262 steps. Alex takes 270 steps, so they're still together. So this is the time frame, I believe, that, Alex is describing that they went driving around the property. He says for a couple hours. Looks like it was probably an hour or so. Because at 7:56, Paul's phone is pinging at the caretaker's house. And he also, at that point, is probably when he was able to connect to Wi-Fi, because you don't get Wi-Fi everywhere on the property out there. So at this point, he's probably connected to Wi-Fi. His Snapchat video is sent to several people to Snapchat with Alex holding up the tree. And at 7:57, he receives a Snapchat saying you need to put straps on it, meaning put straps to hold the tree up. So at 8 o'clock, it looks like Paul is in a place called Dove Field. 8:05 to 8:09, Alex is taking 54 steps. Paul is taking 303 steps. I don't know that they're still together at this point. Maybe. I'm not sure. 8:06, Paul's phone is at the cabin moving toward the main house. 8:07, Paul sends the Snapchat video to several of his friends. And at 8:11, Maggie's phone locks. And at 8:17, it disconnects from the vehicle. So now she's home, 8:17. So is this when they sit down to have dinner, 8:17? That's what I suspect. It's 8:17-ish. They're going to sit down to have dinner. Because Paul's phone pings at the main house at 8:19, so 2 minutes later. At 8:31, there's a group text from John Marvin, Paul's brother, about going to visit his dad that Maggie does not even read. She opens her phone at that time and reads a text from her sister-in-law, but she doesn't read John Marvin's text. At 8:32, from 8:32 to 8:42, Paul is taking 283 steps. And during that period of time, his phone is pinging at the kennel. So it looks like about 8:32, dinner's over. Which, I mean, that sounds reasonable. So dinner's over. This must be when Dad is taking a nap on the couch, right? Except that we know at 8:44, Paul takes that kennel video, and we hear Alex and Maggie's voice on that video. So, and we know at 8:45, Paul's phone is at the kennel, continues to be at the kennel. He gets a text from one of his friends at 8:47. At 8:48, he's texting another friend back. They're going back and forth. At 8:48, Paul's phone locks. And at 8:49, Maggie's phone unlocks, and that's when she reads the group family text. And then it right after that, it locks forever. So there's 31 seconds between the time that Paul's phone locks and Maggie's phone locks for the last time. And so it looks like the murders were around 8:49, 8:50, which is what, you know, the prosecution has been surmising all along. And at 8:53, Maggie's phone records 53 steps. So was she still alive, 4 minutes after her son was killed? I don't know. Or did somebody pick up her phone? Now, at 9:02, between 9:02 and 9:06, Alex's phone records 283 steps. Now, the reason we don't have a lot of data from Alex prior to that is his phone was shut off. So that's what we think, that he shut his phone off. So at 9:04, Alex tries to call Maggie. At 9:05, he calls his dad. That's an 18-second call. At 9:06, he's calling Maggie again. 2 seconds later, he's calling her again. At the same time, at 9:06 and 20 seconds, Maggie's phone changes orientation to landscape. And at the same time that Alex is calling Maggie again. And then at 9:07, we know he leaves Moselle property. Now, here's the interesting part, because when this guy actually had visuals, what he did was from the OnStar data, he pulled latitude and longitude and was able to map out where the phones were and where the vehicle was at certain times, and what the miles per hour was of the vehicle, all from the OnStar system. And so he mapped out where all these different latitude and longitude points were. And so when you see Alex leaving, after he leaves Moselle, he drives this certain area and happens to pass at 38 miles per hour the place where Maggie's phone is found the next day. After he passes that, his vehicle accelerates, and within a few minutes, he's up to 54 miles per hour. And then he's headed on to Alameda to get to his mother's house. So then the times after that, we're all familiar with the times after that. We know that, based on all those times that he arrives at Alameda, leaves Alameda, he was there for 21 minutes, which is consistent with what Miss Libby's caretaker had said. Then at 10 o'clock, we know he's back at Moselle after visiting Mom. At 10:05, he is at the kennels. At 10:06, he's on the phone with 911. Now, this is really important because it records the seconds that all this is going on. And I wrote down all the times. Alex made multiple phone calls while he's going to Moselle, going to Alameda, coming back from Alameda to Moselle. He's calling his friend Chris Wilson a couple of times, both going and coming. He's calling Chris Wilson. He's calling some other people. He's calling Maggie. He's texting Maggie. But at 10:05, 57, he arrives at the kennels, and then 20 seconds later, he's calling 911. So how did he, I mean, 20 seconds. That is not a lot of time. He said he checked the pulses of both Maggie and Paul, and he tried to turn Paul and get his, pick up his phone, and then he just thought better of it and he put it back down, and then he gets back to his vehicle to call 911. How did he do all that in 20 seconds? I don't know. Then at 10:11, while he's on the phone with 911, that he calls at 10:06, he at 10:11 he goes back to Moselle, gets his shotgun. He's back at the kennels at 10:14 with his shotgun. So on cross-examination, this expert was asked if perhaps when Alex was traveling down to the kennels, his headlights might have illuminated the bodies. So perhaps he saw them before he got there. And finally, they went back and forth with this for a while. And then the guy finally admitted it's likely that he may have seen Maggie's body, at least. But he actually said during his interview, I went over there and I checked their pulses. And they're, yards apart. I would think it would take more than 20 seconds to check Maggie's pulse. First of all, if you're checking a pulse, you're doing it for a period of time, Okay, I've got a pulse. Let's go over to Paul. Walk, 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 walk. Okay. Check the pulse. Get the phone. Is 20 seconds enough time to do all that? Maybe. I don't know. Here's the other thing, between 8:44 or 49, when we think the murders, all hell is breaking loose at 8:49, and the time that Maggie's phone locks for the last time, well, that was 8:49 is the last activity on Paul's phone, and then it locks forever. So 11, 12, 13. It looks like Alex maybe had 15 minutes or so to, and I don't do math well. What's 9:07 and 44? That's 14 and 7, it's like 20 minutes to get up to the house, take his shower, change his clothes, and meanwhile he's making these phone calls to Maggie and looking at her phone and changing the landscape on her phone and trying to flip up to, I don't know. I think it's pretty clear he had her phone and was trying some activity. Now, one of the things that this expert was asked was, did you ever have Maggie's phone and Alex's phones in the same location? And apparently at 9:06, yes, they were in the same location. 9:06, just before he leaves for Moselle, or leaves to go to Almeida. So, very interesting. So the prosecution ended their case with showing pictures of Maggie. Really, wow, beautiful, beautiful woman. Then the defense starts their case by putting on the coroner, who said he was notified about the murders at 10:30 p.m. and at 11:04 he was on the scene. He took photographs, all of this prior to before SLED had even arrived to process the crime scene. He put the cause of death at 9 p.m., but said that the death could have occurred anywhere between 8:30 and 10 o'clock. Now, this coroner is not a doctor. He's an elected official. In South Carolina, you do not have to be a physician to be a coroner. Yeah. In fact, he said he checked the temperatures of the body by sticking his hand under their armpit because he forgot his thermometer that he usually carries with him, and that for every 4 minutes, a person's dead, their body temperature decreases. I don't know, but not a medical person. So that's how he guesstimated the time of death. Then they put on a public information officer who, for the police department, that had come out pretty initially saying that there was no danger to the public. And where the defense is going with this is that, you know, right away they were targeting Alex Murdaugh. And she said, you know, she just gives the information as she receives it. It was SLED's idea to put that statement in there, so she put it in there. So that's where the day ended, folks, and it will resume tomorrow. Sorry this was kind of lengthy, but and I hope I didn't confuse anyone. I left out a lot of Paul's back and forth phone calls with his friends that were all in here. Just, you know, it just seems like a normal family going about their day. You know, one interesting thing was this guy, the timeline extended more than just the 7th. This guy had pages, like 50, 60 pages of timeline. Back in May, just a week or so before the murders, there was a text from Paul to Maggie saying, I need to meet you at the Adesto house. It's very important. Apparently what had occurred was he had found some large bags of pills. And in the text, he described the pill and, you know, with the imprint that was on both sides, and that what he was describing was Oxycontin. So apparently Mom and Paul were very aware of Alex's drug habit. I doubted that drug habit, but I mean, if Paul is finding bags of Oxycontin, then you know, maybe it's true he was, but I still don't believe that he was spending that amount of money. Also, right at the beginning, right around that time frame is when Alex texts or has this conversation with Russell Lafitte at Palmetto State Bank saying he needs a $600,000 loan and how soon can he get it. Now, is he planning on buying $600,000 worth of drugs? Holy cow. What? Okay, anyway, that's that. Okay, where's my crime calendar? Where is my crime? Oh, it's right here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Monday, February 1st, the kidnap call-in. Okay, let's take it off here. Hold on. Here we go. In February of 2021, police in Coolidge, Arizona, found a 19-year-old man bound and gagged to a water tower, or near a water tower. The man, Brandon Souls, told them that 2 men had knocked him unconscious outside his house and dumped him near the tower, or dumped him at the tower. He claimed the motive for the attack was a large sum of money his father had hidden in multiple locations around the town. However, security footage in front of Souls' house revealed that no such abduction took place, and investigators found no other evidence of kidnapping or an assault. And there was no money to be found either. Souls had fabricated the crime to get out of work. He was fired and charged with making a false report. 19 years old. That's a heck of a way to get out of going to work. Yeah, I was bound and gagged and kidnapped and... Okay. I guess I had a cold, wasn't going to work. So, I don't know. Okay. Crazy. What a tangled web we weave. Okay. So, guys, thanks for tuning in today. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a true crime story for you. We're going to leave Murdaugh alone for a day. Yep. Because I'll be watching what happens tomorrow. And like I said, if Alex happens to take the stand, I'm going to go live. Yeah, because we're going to watch that one. That's going to be a real show. But who knows at this point? I don't know. So leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. What are you thinking at this point? Guilty? Not guilty? You think it's going to be a hung jury? Here's an interesting thing, though. this jury, you know, I read all these things, all these times, and everything that happens, and 20 seconds here to 30 seconds here, and you know, the jury is not allowed to take notes. The judge is not allowing the jury to take notes. So when they go back to the deliberation room, they're going to have to sit and create a timeline, or they're going to have to sift through this guy's timeline that's 50 some pages. And wow. Although I guess if you had notes and you were trying to write all this down, you might have kind of missed, I don't know. If it were me and I was a juror, I would have had to have a notepad. Excuse me, I need a notepad. I'm sorry. Can I please? I've got to write this down. Sorry, Your Honor. It's not going to stay in my brain unless you let me write it down. So anyway. All right, guys. Have a great Monday. Celebrate President's Day. Leave me a comment. Don't forget the thumbs up. Yep. Please hit that like button. And consider subscribing or forwarding this video to someone you think might enjoy listening to trial recaps while they do crafting. Anyway, love you all. Bye.